Hey everybody, it's Ron, and today I'm going to be reviewing the classic Edgar Rice Burroughs novel, A Princess of Mars. This is the first novel in his Barsoom series, and this is probably his second most famous series just under Tarzan, because I think everybody knows the name Tarzan, but I wanted to start with this book obviously because I talk mostly about science fiction, and if you've been watching this channel from the start, you might know that I'm pretty dissatisfied with the direction of Star Wars. I don't want to watch any of the new shows anymore, and I probably won't watch any of the new movies as well. I'm done with it, and that's sad because I used to be obsessed with Star Wars, but the good thing about that happening, if I want to look at it in a positive light, is that I was forced to look elsewhere and check out a lot of science fiction novels that influenced Star Wars, and that led me to Dune, which I love. But I also went back further to some of the pulp novels, and this seemed like a great place to start because this book launched the imagination of some of the best sci-fi novelists in the 50s and 60s, and still has a huge impact today. I had a lot of fun reading this book, and it flew by. It's a relatively short read, but I was struck by how engaging it is right from the start. And it's an interesting style because it starts out almost like it's a journal entry, and that goes on for a really long time to the point where I thought the whole book would be like that. But then it switches over and the characters start to have their own dialogue and it becomes more of a traditional novel. So real quick, I'll just go over what this is about. It's a pretty simple premise. John Carter is a veteran from the Civil War, and it opens up with him going on an adventure to strike gold. And during his expedition, he gets into trouble with Apaches, and they chase him into a mysterious cave, and once he's inside, he's transported to Mars. I like this sequence because it really grabs your attention. You know he's eventually going to get sent to Mars, but you don't know exactly how. And Burroughs chooses to not tell us how or why it happens, and only leaves little hints, and normally I'd think that's kind of a cop-out, but in this instance, for me at least, it makes the story more interesting, and I kind of like that it's left unexplained, because sometimes it's cooler to come up with your own theories as to how John Carter gets himself onto Mars. And I think any explanation would have been more disappointing than what the reader initially imagines. One of the cool things about John Carter getting sent to Mars, or Barsoom as it's called by the people who live there, is that gravity works differently on Mars than from Earth, obviously. So John Carter becomes much stronger and can leap great distances. So the first thing I thought was, wow, okay, so that's where they get the idea for Superman. And it's always wild to read the inspiration for characters that I thought were completely original. It's such a cool idea to overpower the main protagonist in a scientific way. And it's amazing to me that Burroughs had such great concepts so long ago. This book was first published in a magazine in 1912. And aside from a few things, it's pretty timeless thanks to his incredible imagination. Especially with all of the technology he pretty much predicts in this book, like radar, sonar, homing devices, and even television. I like that the very beginning covers John Carter's time with a group of Martians called the Tharks, who are the green creatures from Barsoom. And he goes from being a slave, basically, and then eventually rises up through the ranks. I recently watched the John Carter movie, and although I enjoyed it, I feel like the book is a lot stronger because Burroughs takes his time explaining the Tharks' way of life, and John Carter learns a lot about Mars from living in their society. And you also spend a lot of time with Thark characters like Tarkis and Sola, and Burroughs does a great job setting up their relationships with Carter. Sola is a cool character because you can tell she's different from most of the other Tharks. They are a pretty ruthless tribe, and Sola is more sympathetic and cares for John Carter. She also has a great backstory that really ramps up the dramatic tension between her father Tars Tarkas, and their leader Tal Hajas, who is revealed to have killed Sola's mother and Tars Tarkas' wife. The only thing I didn't really like is how quickly it resolved when Tars Tarkas has the opportunity to fight Tal. He basically just kills him right away, and I was like, oh, okay then. But I've noticed that this type of thing happens a lot in these old pulp stories. Sometimes things like that are wrapped up really quickly. But there's also some really exciting swashbuckling type of action in this, and one of the chapters that stands out is when Carter is forced to fight in an arena, and I think this influenced the scene in Attack of the Clones. So like I said, it's cool to read where these ideas originally came from. Dejah Thoris is also pretty much the proto-Princess Leia, especially the slave Leia outfit. That was most likely influenced by the description of Dejah in the novel, as well as the countless artists who have depicted her. She's more human-looking than the Tharks, and we come to find out that all of the natives of Helium are called Red Martians and have a similar look to humans of Earth, which helps John Carter become attracted to her almost immediately when she's captured by the Tharks. I thought it was funny how tough she is on John Carter. She doesn't just fall in love with him right away, she really makes him work for it. But she's also used in the story to explain to John Carter a lot of the world building on Barsoom, and it was really surprising how much world building and lore is actually in here, because I was expecting a really light read with not a lot of details about Mars like you get in something like The Lord of the Rings or Dune, but Burroughs actually provides the reader with a lot of backstory about Barsoom and introduces different cultures and even names of rivers and history, and it's really fascinating stuff. As for John Carter himself, he's a pretty straightforward action hero. There's not much character development there with him, but there are some moments when his sense of humor comes through, especially when Dejah Thoris is insulting him, and I think he likes that challenge, so that was fun to read. It was also a good idea to give him a companion creature named Woola, who is basically the Mars version of a dog. This helps show the difference between John and the rest of the savage Tharks, because Carter really cares for Woola, and Woola is completely loyal to John as well. So it was just a nice little element thrown in here, because everybody likes a man and his dog type relationship in a story like this. The pacing is great for the most part, and the action doesn't really let up. I thought it ended in a bittersweet way, but also in a way where I'm intrigued enough to want to read what happens in the next novel, and I'm not sure if Burroughs always intended to continue the series, but it certainly seems like he wanted to if it was successful, because it is a bit of a cliffhanger ending. So yeah, if you like stuff like Flash Gordon, Buck Rogers, or any of the old pulp stories and you haven't checked this book out yet, I'd give it a shot. It's a pretty quick read and it's very imaginative escapism. I had a great time with it, and I'm excited to check out the next book called Gods of Mars. Let me know what you guys thought about this novel if you've read it in the comments, and please be sure to like and subscribe if you're enjoying this content. Thanks for watching. Hey everyone, it's Ron here with a quick announcement. When I started this channel, I was reading and reviewing the Dune books and other sci-fi related material, and most of you might not know that I'm also a musician. So when I was reading these sci-fi books, I started to get inspired and decided to make my own soundtrack to use for my videos, and now I'm excited to tell you all about the first volume in the Ron Reviews original soundtrack collection. This album includes the first 17 tracks featured on my channel, and it's available now exclusively on Bandcamp. Be sure to check the description of this video for the link to the album. Thanks so much for the support so far. I know I'm just starting out, but I hope you're having as much fun as I am. So check out the original soundtrack Volume 1 on Bandcamp. This music is great if you want something moody and atmospheric to listen to while you're reading some science fiction. I think you're going to love it. Thanks.